Hey guys, Offline Gamer here today. Today I'm going to be giving you a look at the 2013 Spiel des Jahres winner Hanabi by Antoine Bowser, re-released by Asmodee Games. I have the original R&R Games version of this. It is a hidden card game where you're going to take the cards that are in your hand, and instead of looking at them, you're going to face them away from you. And by communicating with your other players, it's a cooperative game where you're going to be giving information to the other players to try to build a fireworks display. It's a really fun game. Never thought I really would have enjoyed this until I played this with my wife. But let's take a look at how it plays, how the components are doing, and then we'll come back here and get my final thoughts on the game. Alrighty guys, here you have a two-player game of Hanabi setup. Now if you notice, for two players, each person gets dealt 5 cards. So let's say this is the card, so this person would be holding them with the backs facing towards them. The other players would see the actual cards that are in their hand. So as you can see, I have a couple of yellows, a green, a blue, and a multicolored one, which is actually a 5th faction that's in the deck. You can play the game one of two ways. You can either make it where you take out the multicolored deck and not use it at all. You can play where the multicolored deck is a wild card, so you can use it in place of any of the other ones. Or you can actually make it like the really hard version of the game is you include the multicolored deck in, but you make that a completely separate, different color scheme. So on the turn, a player, let's say this player is holding these cards facing out, this one's holding these facing out. On his turn, player number 1 sits there and points out to player 2 and says, these 2 cards are blue. And he'll take one of these little time cards and put it into the box there. So then the other player comes in and says, these 2 are number 1s. Even though they're different colors. So when you're giving a clue, you can either give a color or a number, how many you have. But you must point to all the ones that are in their hand. So you can't just sit there and say, hey, this is a number 1 when the person has other number 1s in their hand. So you got to point to all of them and say, hey, this is a number 1. So then let's say on that turn, the player can sit there and take a time thing, put it in and say, I play the card, and then that one's down. And then he draws another card into his hand and flips it over. And players go back and forth doing this. Now, there are these little tokens that start with like a really long fuse and a medium, then a short, and then like an explosion. Anytime you play out a card that's wrong, you sit there and take one of these and throw it into the box. And there's no way of getting those back. However, let's say eventually you're giving out clues and you're playing your little time things, and eventually you're going to run out of time tokens. So the only way to sit there and actually get time tokens back is you have to discard a card and then you pull one out. So every card that you discard, you pull one time back out. So players will go back and forth in doing that, trying to line up these things in numerical order from 1 to 5. And then once you have it done, so let's say there's a red, there's a white. So the way that it goes is you have yellow, green, white, red, blue, and then you have the multicolored one. And you can sit there and either play with all of them. You can sit there and let's say the yellow gets to a 4. Let me find a quick. And then this person has a multicolored 5. They can put the 5. Once you do that, that chain is done. You don't have to worry about playing any of those other colors. So you can actually sit there and point out to somebody and say, hey, you have these cards that are yellow. And when you need to get time back, you can just sit there and discard those cards and get them and end up getting more time back. And essentially, you'll go around, each player doing this in their turn, until either one of two things happen. You either run out of cards in the draw deck, and then you see how far you got along in your cards, and you score points based on that, or you sit there and you lose if you actually get to the point where you make 4 mistakes and the fireworks blow up. And there you have Hanabi. Now, thoughts from me. I really didn't think I was going to enjoy this game when I heard the premise of how the game was going to play, but once I played it with my wife and we kind of like stumbled through our first game, once we understood, oh, okay, now this is how it goes, which we understood it more towards the middle of our first game, we really enjoyed it. We're like, well, let's play this again. It's really neat how they set it up where you don't look at your cards and you're holding them up so that the other people can see it, and you can only give that bit of information like these are number ones or these are reds. And it's interesting on how you have to kind of try to communicate, but you're very limited to what you can say. But at least you know the way you kind of go with it, where it's like you need a red 3 and you point out to somebody, hey, this one's a red card. They can kind of assume, oh, that's a 3, let me play it on my turn. I really like the fact that it does the whole thing with the time tokens, where you can only give information by putting one of the time tokens into the box, and eventually people just have to start discarding cards to be able to build back time tokens. What was interesting is the first time I played this with my wife, we actually lost because we ran out, or the explosion exploded and we didn't get a chance to do it, so we didn't get that many points. However, we did play it more recently with a 4-player game, and we did pretty good. I mean, we got, I think, one entire line of the fireworks done, and then we got pretty deep into the other ones before we ran out of cards, and then we tallied up our points. So it was really fun when we played it. Had a good time with the 4 people. I like the fact that it's a short half-hour game, so it's not that long to lay out. I mean, there is strategy to it, but not a ton of strategy to it, which makes it really fun. But it really, I can see why it won the Spiel des Jahres award. I mean, it's very simple to teach, very quick to pick up. It's a good gateway game for people, and it was fun. I mean, it was definitely worth the price of admission, as they say. I mean, I've definitely played this more than a dozen times or so already, and I mean, it's fun every single time that we play it. And everyone's like, oh yeah, Hanabi, let's play that. And it's kind of funny to see the reactions on people's faces when you tell them how the game works, and they're like, I don't understand what you're talking about. And then you see it, how it plays, and everyone's like, oh, okay. And then it all goes from there. It's really, really great. Definitely like a 9 out of 10 for me. I mean, heck, maybe even 10 out of 10. It's definitely going to sit on my shelf for a good while. And we'll play it, because it's always fun to just sit there. You can play it with kids as well as adults. So it's a good range for everybody. So if it does seem interesting to you, head out and pick it up. And that is Hanabi by Antoine Bowser. And as I always say, guys, get out there and game. Take care.